In the dusty village of Kara, Bondokuy, where the sun scorches the earth and dreams seem as distant as the horizon, a child was born on March 14, 1988, who would one day shake the foundations of a nation. Ibrahim Traoré entered the world in a small, rural community in northern Burkina Faso, a land marked by poverty and resilience. His family, like many in the region, lived a simple life, relying on subsistence farming and the occasional trade. Bondokuy was not a place of grandeur, it was a world of red dirt roads, thatched roofs, and the constant struggle against drought and hardship. Young Ibrahim grew up amidst the sounds of village life, goats bleating, women pounding millet, and elders sharing stories under the baobab tree. His father, a modest farmer, instilled in him the values of hard work and community, while his mother taught him the importance of perseverance in the face of adversity. From an early age, Ibrahim showed a keen intellect and curiosity about the world beyond the village. The local school was basic, with limited resources, but he excelled, devouring every book available. Teachers noticed his sharp mind and leadership qualities, even as a boy. He organized games with his peers, leading them with a natural authority that hinted at his future. The 1990s in Burkina Faso were turbulent. The country, formerly Upper Volta, had gained independence from France in 1960 but struggled with political instability and economic woes. Coups and dictatorships were common, and the shadow of colonialism lingered in the form of French influence and exploitation. Ibrahim's family was Mossi, the largest ethnic group in Burkina Faso, known for their warrior traditions and communal spirit. Stories of ancient Mossi kingdoms, where kings ruled with wisdom and might, filled his childhood. Yet, the reality was harsh. Corruption, poverty, and foreign interference plagued the nation. As a teenager, Ibrahim witnessed the impacts firsthand: friends leaving for cities in search of work, families scraping by, and the occasional protest against government mismanagement. These experiences planted seeds of discontent, fueling his desire for change. In 2006, at age 18, Ibrahim enrolled at the University of Ouagadougou, the capital's main institution. Studying geology, he immersed himself in academics, graduating in 2009 with honors. The university was a hub of ideas, where students debated politics, economics, and Africa's future. Exposure to Pan-African thinkers like Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso's revolutionary leader assassinated in 1987, inspired him. Sankara's vision of self-reliance and anti-imperialism resonated deeply. During his university years, Ibrahim participated in student groups, honing his oratory skills and leadership. He saw how foreign powers, particularly France, continued to dominate Burkina Faso's economy through mining and agriculture, leaving locals impoverished. Graduation brought a crossroads. Many of his peers pursued corporate jobs or emigrated, but Ibrahim chose a different path. The military appealed to him as a way to serve and protect his people. In 2009, he enlisted in the Burkina Faso Army, a decision that surprised some but felt inevitable to him. The army offered structure, purpose, and a chance to rise through merit. His university education gave him an edge, allowing him to enter officer training at the prestigious Georges Namono Military Academy in Pa. Training was rigorous: physical drills, tactical simulations, and ideological instruction. Ibrahim excelled, his discipline and strategic thinking standing out. He formed bonds with fellow cadets, sharing dreams of a stronger Burkina Faso. But the academy also exposed the army's flaws: outdated equipment, political favoritism, and the lingering effects of French military ties. As he marched under the scorching sun, Ibrahim pondered how to reform a system that served the elite more than the people. By 2010, as a young lieutenant, Ibrahim was deployed to counterinsurgency operations in northern Burkina Faso, where jihadist groups threatened stability. The experience was eye-opening: villages terrorized, soldiers under-equipped, and the government's response inadequate. He saw the human cost of neglect, fueling his resolve. Yet, in the quiet moments, he wondered if the army could be the tool for real change or if it was part of the problem. Little did the world know, this young officer from Bondokuy was forging a path that would lead to the heart of power, where one decision could rewrite a nation's destiny. Imagine a young man, barely out of university, stepping into the unforgiving forge of military life, where every drill and deployment tempers the soul like steel and flame. Ibrahim Traoré's military journey began in earnest at the Georges-Namono Military Academy in Burkina Faso's premier training ground. Enlisting in 2009, he underwent intense officer training that tested his physical limits and mental resolve. The academy, established in the 1960s, was a microcosm of Burkina Faso's military history, rooted in French colonial traditions but striving for African identity. Daily routines included dawn runs, weapons handling, and tactical exercises under veteran instructors. Ibrahim, with his geology background, brought an analytical mind to the field, excelling in strategy and logistics. His peers nicknamed him the Thinker, as he often dissected maneuvers during late-night discussions. Training wasn't just physical, it was ideological. Cadets studied Burkina Faso's history, from pre-colonial kingdoms to Thomas Sankara's revolution. Sankara's emphasis on self-sufficiency and anti-corruption resonated with Ibrahim, who saw parallels between the academy's discipline and the need for national renewal. In 2010, he graduated as a second lieutenant, one of the top in his class. His first posting was to a battalion in Ouagadougou, where he learned the ropes of command, leading patrols, managing supplies, and maintaining morale. Burkina Faso's security landscape was volatile. The Sahel region, including northern Burkina, was a hotspot for jihadist insurgencies spilling over from Mali. In 2012, the Tuareg rebellion in Mali escalated into full civil war, drawing international attention. Ibrahim's unit was on high alert, training for potential interventions. He participated in joint exercises with French forces, part of the Barkhane operation, but this exposure highlighted the dependency on foreign aid. "Why do we rely on outsiders to protect our land?" he confided to a fellow officer during a drill. In 2014, Ibrahim was promoted to lieutenant and sent to Morocco for advanced training at the Royal Armed Forces Academy in Meknès. The program focused on counter-terrorism and leadership, exposing him to modern tactics. Living in Rabat, he interacted with officers from across Africa, broadening his Pan-African views. He studied how Morocco balanced tradition and modernity, applying lessons to Burkina Faso's challenges. Returning in 2015, he was assigned to the 25th Parachute Regiment, an elite unit known for rapid response. His first major deployment came in 2018, as part of the G5 Sahel Joint Force, a multinational effort against jihadists. Stationed near the Mali border, Ibrahim led reconnaissance missions in the rugged terrain of the Liptako-Gourma region. The operations were grueling: ambushes, IEDs, and harsh weather. In one incident, his patrol came under fire from ISGS militants, forcing a tense retreat. Ibrahim's quick thinking saved lives, earning him commendations. But he saw the toll: villages displaced, soldiers dying for a government that seemed distant from their struggles. Back in Ouagadougou, Ibrahim rose to captain in 2020, commanding a company in anti-terror operations. The 2020 to 2021 jihadist attacks intensified, with groups like JNIM and ISGS capturing territory. Ibrahim's unit conducted raids, but he grew frustrated with the government's strategy, reliance on French support and corruption in procurement. He voiced concerns in private, advocating for local solutions and youth involvement in security. The turning point came in January 2022, when jihadists overran several northern towns. Ibrahim participated in Operation Montcadre, a counteroffensive that reclaimed key areas. His leadership shone, but the victory was Pyrrhic, civilian casualties mounted, and public anger grew against President Roch-Marc Christian Kaboré's administration. Whispers of discontent spread in the barracks, with officers like Ibrahim discussing reform. As the dust settled from another hard-won battle, Ibrahim stared at the horizon, realizing that true victory lay not in holding ground, but in uprooting the roots of failure that threatened to consume his nation from within. Picture a captain in the dead of night, surrounded by fellow officers, their faces illuminated by a single lantern, plotting a path that could either save Burkina Faso or doom it forever. By 2021, Ibrahim Traoré had become a respected figure in the Burkina Faso Army, his reputation built on competence and quiet charisma. As captain of an elite parachute company, he led operations in the volatile north, where jihadist groups like Ansar al-Islam and JNIM terrorized communities. The government's response was criticized as inadequate, underfunded troops, poor intelligence, and political interference. Ibrahim's missions were high-stakes, night raids on militant hideouts, protecting convoys, and training local militias. In one operation near Djibo, his unit dismantled a JNIM cell, capturing weapons and documents that revealed foreign funding. But each success highlighted systemic issues: soldiers lacked proper gear, and corruption siphoned resources. Ibrahim's Pan-Africanist views deepened during this period. Influenced by Sankara and leaders like Thomas Isidore Noel Sankara, he believed Burkina Faso needed sovereignty from neo-colonial influences, particularly France's role in the Sahel. The 2014 overthrow of Blaise Compaoré, a longtime dictator, had raised hopes, but Compaoré's administration disappointed with economic stagnation and security failures. Inflation soared, youth unemployment reached 70%, and protests erupted in Ouagadougou. In early 2022, the situation escalated. Jihadist attacks killed hundreds, displacing thousands. The army mutinied in several barracks, demanding better pay and equipment. Ibrahim, stationed in Kaya, sympathized with the rank and file. He organized discreet meetings with like-minded officers, including Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba, a colonel with similar grievances. Their discussions focused on reforming the military and government, inspired by Mali's 2020 and 2021 coups led by Assimi Goïta. Ibrahim's role in Operation Mont Cadre in February 2022 was pivotal. His company spearheaded assaults that recaptured Solhan and other towns from jihadists. Media praised the brave paratroopers, but Ibrahim knew the victory was fragile. In interviews, he avoided politics, but privately, he criticized the government's hands-off approach. By March, as attacks continued, public outrage boiled over. Compaoré's government was accused of incompetence, with rumors of French complicity and instability to justify intervention. The spark came on January 3, 2022, when jihadists attacked a military base in Inata, killing 50 soldiers. The incident exposed leadership failures, fueling mutinies. Ibrahim, in Kaya, rallied his men, preventing desertions and maintaining discipline. He communicated with Damiba, who was planning a response. As tensions rose, Ibrahim emerged as a voice for change, advocating for a people's army, free from corruption. In May 2022, Damiba led a coup, ousting Compaoré and establishing the Patriotic Movement for Safeguard and Restoration, MPSR. Ibrahim supported it initially, seeing it as a step toward reform. He was promoted and appointed to key roles in the junta. However, Damiba's leadership faltered, security worsened, and economic policies alienated allies. Jihadist attacks persisted, and public protests demanded stronger action. Ibrahim grew disillusioned. In private, he criticized Damiba's reliance on foreign advisors and failure to address root causes like poverty and inequality. By September 2022, whispers of another coup circulated. Ibrahim, now a major, met with junior officers in Kaya, forming the core of what would become the Sankarist revolution. They drew inspiration from Sankara's ideals, vowing to end neo-colonialism and build self-reliance. On September 30, 2022, the plot unfolded. Ibrahim's unit moved on Ouagadougou, securing key sites with minimal resistance. Damiba fled to Togo, and by October 6, Ibrahim Traoré, at 34, was declared interim president. The world watched as Burkina Faso's youngest leader promised radical change. But as the cheers faded and the weight of power settled, Ibrahim realized the true battle had just begun, one against enemies both external and within, where one wrong step could bury his revolution in the sands of history. Dawn breaks over Ouagadougou, but instead of birdsong, the city awakens to the rumble of armored vehicles and the echo of rifle shots, a symphony of revolution that would redefine a nation. September 30, 2022, marked the turning point in Ibrahim Traoré's life. The air was thick with tension as Burkina Faso reeled from ongoing jihadist threats and Damiba's faltering junta. Ibrahim, stationed in Kaya with his parachute regiment, had spent weeks coordinating with loyal officers. The MPSR under Damiba had promised security but delivered chaos, attacks in the north killed dozens, and public trust eroded. Protests in the capital demanded Damiba's ouster, chanting, "Sankara lives." A call for true revolution. Ibrahim's group, calling themselves the Sankarist officers, saw Damiba as a placeholder, not a reformer. They drafted a manifesto emphasizing anti-imperialism, self-sufficiency, and youth empowerment. On the morning of the 30th, Ibrahim's unit mobilized. Trucks loaded with troops rolled toward Ouagadougou, 200 kilometers south. Radio communications crackled with coded messages, "The Lion awakens." By midday, they controlled the airport and state TV station, broadcasting a communique dissolving the MPSR and installing a new patriotic movement for Homeland Security, MPSF. Resistance was minimal, many soldiers sympathized with the coup. Damiba, caught off guard, sought refuge in the French embassy but was denied. He fled to Togo by evening. Ibrahim entered the presidential palace, where crowds gathered, waving Burkina Faso flags. At 34, he addressed the nation on TV, his voice steady, "We take power to save our homeland from chaos and foreign domination." He promised to fight terrorism, end corruption, and withdraw from French-influenced pacts. The international response was swift. France condemned the coup, the UN called for restraint, and ECOWAS threatened sanctions. But in Africa, support poured in from Mali and Niger, fellow junta-led nations. Ibrahim's Pan-African stance, criticizing France's CFSP and calling for Russian or Turkish partnerships, resonated. He expelled French ambassador Jean-Yves Le Drian and closed French bases, a bold move echoing Sankara. In the weeks following, Ibrahim consolidated power. He appointed a civilian prime minister, Apollinaire Joachim Kailam de Tambala, and formed a transitional council. Security operations intensified. He reorganized the army, promoting merit-based officers and integrating volunteers for the defense of the fatherland, VDP. Jihadist attacks continued, but his total war doctrine, combining military action with development, gained traction. He visited front lines, boosting morale, and launched initiatives like free education and agricultural reforms. Challenges mounted. ECOWAS suspended Burkina Faso, and economic sanctions hit hard. Ibrahim responded by forging ties with Russia, signing deals for wheat and security. Domestically, he cracked down on corruption, arresting officials, but faced criticism for media restrictions. His charisma shone in speeches, invoking Sankara and warning against neo-colonial puppets. By October 2022, as interim president, Ibrahim extended the transition to 2024, prioritizing security. The Sahel alliance with Mali and Niger strengthened, challenging Western dominance. Yet, as the dust of victory settled, Ibrahim gazed at the map of his fractured nation, knowing that the real war, for hearts, minds, and sovereignty, was far from won, and one betrayal could turn triumph into tragedy. In the dim light of the presidential office, a young captain-turned-president stares at a map of Burkina Faso, where lines of conflict crisscross like veins, wondering if his bold vision can heal a wounded land or if it will lead to its undoing. Ibrahim Traoré's presidency began with promise and peril. Taking power in October 2022, he inherited a nation on the brink. Jihadist groups controlled 40% of territory, economy stagnated at 3% growth, and youth unemployment fueled unrest. At 34, the youngest African head of state, Ibrahim positioned himself as a Sankara successor, pledging total reconquest against terrorism and neo-colonialism. His first acts were symbolic. He renamed the country from Burkina Faso, Land of Upright People, to emphasize unity, though it remained the same. He withdrew from the G5 Sahel, criticizing its French ties, and expelled 400 French troops in 2023. Turning to Russia, he signed Wagner Group deals for security training, sparking Western backlash. In January 2023, he dissolved parliament and extended the transition to 2029, citing security needs, drawing ECOWAS sanctions and isolation. Domestically, Ibrahim launched ambitious reforms. The General Offensive Plan mobilized 50,000 troops and VDP militias, reclaiming towns like Djibo. He invested in agriculture, distributing seeds and tractors to boost food self-sufficiency, echoing Sankara's Green Revolution. Education saw free schooling and new universities, while mining nationalization aimed to keep gold wealth in Burkina Faso, producing 60 tons annually. Yet, challenges abounded. Jihadist attacks killed 1,000 in 2023, displacing 2 million. Human rights groups accused his regime of arbitrary arrests and media censorship, with journalists fleeing. Economic woes worsened with sanctions, inflation hit 10%, and food shortages loomed. Ibrahim's anti-French rhetoric won hearts in Africa but alienated allies. Russia provided arms, but delivery delays frustrated. Internationally, Ibrahim emerged as a Pan-African icon. At the 2023 Russia-Africa Summit, he rallied for sovereignty, earning cheers. Alliances with Mali and Niger formed the Alliance of Sahel States, exiting ECOWAS. He hosted summits on Sahel security, advocating for African solutions. Critics labeled him a dictator, but supporters saw a visionary. In speeches, he invoked Sankara, "We will not be anyone's backyard." Youth rallies chanted his name, seeing hope in his resolve. As 2024 dawned, with elections postponed and threats mounting, Ibrahim stood firm, but the Sahel's fires burned hotter, testing if his revolution would illuminate Burkina Faso or consume it in flames.